This video is going to be relatively quick, so if you see me on it, then I've vanished. Don't panic. Oh, also, I have a video coming up with Jimmy Dore. Him and I are going to talk apparently in about 27 minutes. So this video really is going to have to be relatively fast. By the way, if you find yourself coming back here often and you dig what I am putting down or what this channel is putting down, please consider supporting the content either through PayPal or Patreon. It does help. We like to say even $1 helps. What you're saying behind me is Juan Guido. Juan Guido is in, you could say, Maduro's stronghold, from apparently where Maduro comes from, or Maduro has a connection to the district, let's say it that way, to be specific. Juan Guido is there. Those people that you see wearing military outfits and everything else, they are protecting Juan Guido. Now, Juan Guido has declared himself president of Venezuela. Some random guy has declared himself president of Venezuela. It's like me saying I'm, president of the United States. He's trying to get support for this within the country itself and trying to splinter the military in order to assist him. The United States has worked with him, has worked with the opposition, given resources in order to assist them in their objectives. He's also admitted to assisting in destroying the power grid or messing up the power grid, essentially putting them in a blackout. This is a coup attempt, and he is the patsy that the United States has gotten, who's willing to own up, who's willing to stand up and says, yes, I will be the patsy for the United States and reinstitute colonialism. And he's going to allow the selling the resources and everything else. Now, the interesting part here is these people are protesting him. They don't like him, which is odd, right? If a person is saying the United States media goes with this idea that he's mentally popular and, the public loves him and all this other stuff, not so much. The public understands that he is a patsy of the United States. And even if they have their qualms with Maduro, they have a lot more qualms with the United States putting in their patsy. They're not unclear on what's going on. This is an odd scene because the person who's trying to allow a coup in the country and topple the government is now being protected by that same government. That's odd, right? You would think Maduro would let the public just kind of grab him in this problem. The catch here and the problem that Maduro is dealing with is somewhat twofold. The opposition has led violent protests, meaning if the opposition is setting somebody on fire or beating somebody up or blocking a road and the government intrudes or intervenes, and the government deals with this violent opposition to a level of force that the opposition has been putting out, meaning the government gets violent itself. And then the United States comes out and says, oh my God, they're killing protesters, or they're killing their own people. Now, missing the fact that the opposition has killed a certain number of themselves. The United States doesn't count that. They just count everybody that's died as being on the government's back. Understand what the United States does when we have protests. We have tanks. We have people who throw bombs, grenades, pepper spray, all of this other stuff. And I'm saying like these flash bombs and grenades into audience members, into crowds. Think of how we deal with our protests. And in thinking how we deal with our protests, what would we allow in this country from the standpoint of a government if that government was trying to be toppled? Meaning, I'm saying this in an odd way, but I'm saying, what would the United States allow in regards to protests before the United States government itself gets to a certain degree violent? Nevertheless, they're angry at him. They don't like him. They understand that this is a coup attempt. If Maduro came out here, he could just apparently walk through. He doesn't need this huge military police force and everything else. And I'm wobbling on this because I just saw the story. But the second point that Maduro has to kind of be aware of is if anything happens to Guido, and this is kind of pursuant to the first point too, it gives pretext. When the United States makes these stories, oh my God, all of these protesters are being killed, he's killing his own people, there's a violent dictatorship, it's a humanitarian crisis, etc., etc. They're not saying that for no reason. They're saying that in order to create a pretext. If the leader of the opposition gets injured, gets hurt, if it's a crowd, if it's somebody who's loyal to Maduro, if there's any connection to Maduro at all, hell, Maduro doesn't even have to be in the country. it will get pinned on Maduro, and they would say this is a pretext for us to intervene into the affairs of the nation. The United States may say it's sending some of its client states, Colombia, Brazil, and military force from that standpoint, but it gives a higher pretext to intervene. The Western media is not going to report it as if this guy is trying to foment a coup. The Western media doesn't even report it as a coup at all. They just report it as an opposition leader is going up against a dictator. It is in Maduro's best interest for Guido to remain breathing and to allow him to run around the country and everything else. And even if that means protecting him with military police, he is compelled to do so by the political events, or you could say the political eddies or the political currents that he's stuck into. It's odd, it's bizarre, but at the end of the day, he's dealing with international politics. This is not purely a domestic matter. Meaning this is not Macron beating protesters and shooting them with pepper spray and grenades and everything else. The Western media blacks that out. Macron doesn't have to worry about calls from the international community to step down or to be removed or have the government to collapse because he's injuring protesters. Doesn't occur. Western media barely shows it. They're in, what, 18th week. Barely shows it. But on this, they're going to show everything that takes place. Meaning he has to deal with an international community that is trying to come up with a pretext to invade his country. So he has to be aware of what he's doing. In this case, that means Guido stays alive. Just saying, I thought it was an odd, interesting case of this brutal dictatorship that is escorting the guy who's trying to topple the government and have military police protect that guy that's trying to topple the government. All right, guys. I'll see you guys in a few. Thanks all.